Holy smokeroni. You guys like my pants? Woo! Hello everyone. It has been such a long time since I filmed a sit-down video, and I'm just over the moon to be here talking to you. Like, genuinely, top 10 things in the world is sitting here talking about books. So I'm so happy you've decided to join me today because we are going to talk about my end of the year TBR. Really quickly here before I get into my holiday TBR, I wanted to give you a few recommendations for this season of books that I really enjoyed. I normally would make this probably a separate video all on its own, but the holidays are already upon us, so I wanted to just give a few suggestions that you might like to add to your TBR, and they're just perfect for this festive season. So I have 5 recommendations for you, and take them with a grain of salt, but here are my holiday recommendations. What's really convenient, I looked it up today just to double check. 3 of the 5 books I'm going to recommend to you are on KU. So if you subscribe to that platform, you can read these for free. Technically, I mean, you're paying for it, but you know what I'm saying? They're on there for your leisure. So let's get on into it. The first one I'm going to suggest is one that I honestly will probably reread next Christmas because I feel like it's been long enough that, I can reread it like it's the first time again, and that is The Holidays by Christina Lauren. This one is so great. It's really like Hallmarky in the best way, quintessential Christmas. This one is a Christmas Day groundhog situation. Our main character has been dealing with a lot of hard things in her life, and she is in love with her family friend's son, if that makes sense. And I feel like it really just captures the season so well. It's really enjoyable. So that is my first suggestion for you. Next is Lovelight Farms by B.K. Borson. This one is not a 5-star for me personally, but everybody loved this one and it's super well written. So I definitely think it's worth looking into. This one is a best friends to lovers romance. It takes place on a Christmas tree farm, and this girl is trying to win a contest with an influencer to get more business at her Christmas establishment. So it involves fake dating, best friends to lovers, and it was super cute. It didn't, check all the boxes for me, but I definitely think it was enjoyable. It was around like a 4-star for me. The next 3 are all on Kindle Unlimited. So the first one I'm going to recommend is The Holiday X-Files by Jennifer Peel. I really like Jennifer Peel. I don't think this was a 5-star, but it was super enjoyable. I usually end up really enjoying her characters and her writing. In this one, our main character caught her now ex-husband cheating under the Christmas tree. And it's kind of about her dealing with grieving loss of her relationship, and she doesn't like Christmas anymore because of it, even though it used to be her favorite holiday. One of her sources of income is editing men out of women's photos for them, and she's like a whole page dedicated to it. But this one is really about her coming back into herself and falling in love with her ex-husband's best friend. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, it was really an enjoyable read. I'd pick up that one. Next is The Plight Before Christmas. This one is by Kate Stewart. This is probably my highest rated Christmas novel, right along with In the Holidays. I loved this one. It's second chance romance. Her brother brings home her ex-boyfriend without knowing it's her ex-boyfriend, and he spends the holidays with her family. I really liked this. It got to the point where it's like, okay, this is a tiny bit like too cheesy. There were a tiny bit too much tragedy in it where I'm like, okay, we're pushing a little far. But overall, I thought it was a great read. And this one is probably, like I said, my highest recommended book for the holiday season. And last, I'm going to go with a bit of a different direction because obviously all the ones I've suggested so far are romances. But I'm going to suggest Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This one is also on KU, which I don't know that it was when I read it, but it is now. And this one is not festive, but it takes place during a snowstorm, and it feels very wintry, and obviously this one is a thriller. So, just something that's a bit of a change of pace, but I really enjoyed this one. It was my first Alice Feeney, and I feel like it's my favorite one I've read from her. So if you want to pick up a thriller this holiday season, that is also available to you. I'm so happy I was able to fit in those recommendations for you guys. If you end up picking up any of those, please let me know what you thought of it. Again, I always have all my socials linked in my bio. They're also at the end of the video. And I just love to chat about books. So seriously, if you pick any of these up or you pick up a Christmas book that you think I would love, you can comment here, you can message me on Instagram. Let's get talking about books, you know what I'm saying? But without further ado, here is my TBR for December. Obviously, we're a tiny bit late to this party. What's new? I'm a little behind on the books that I should be reading. And that's a fact. But nonetheless, I have many, many books I'd love to get to before the end of the year. And, it's the season of wishful thinking, I truly believe. So here we go. In a perfect world, I would finish all these books by December 31st. All right, you bookworms, we are going to start actually with the books that are kind of seasonal. These are my Christmas theme-ish books that I'd love to get to. I've only read one so far this December, so it's time to get serious about these books. So, kicking it all off is a book by John Grisham, and it's Skipping Christmas. Obviously, this book was made into the movie Christmas with the Cranks, and I love that movie. I know it's not for everyone. My husband is totally not a fan of it because it's one of those movies where everything goes wrong. I don't mind those movies if I've seen them for the most part because you kind of know the pattern, but I totally get it's not everyone's cup of tea. But I did want to go to the source material, and this is such a beautiful copy of it, and it's a really short read. I want to say it's under 300 pages. Yeah. Oh, it might be under 200. So yeah, it's a very short read. My bestie also has this book, so hopefully her and I can do a buddy read, stay accountable to actually get to this book this year. Next is a book I haven't heard a ton about, but I saw it at Target and had to pick it up. It's Love Holly by Emily Stone. And she has written Always in December and One Last Gift. I feel like I have heard of both of those, but I've never picked them up. So this book deals with quite a bit of grief. It's about our main character, Holly, who is part of a writing group that writes letters to people who are lonely during the holiday season, and then they receive one in return. She's writing to a lady, Emma, and tries to help basically fulfill Emma's Christmas dream of reuniting with her estranged grandson. So I know this one has a lot of grief as a main theme, so keep that in mind going into it. Obviously, I haven't picked it up myself, so I can't tell you, how that plays out. But all the reviews I was seeing for it really said it's like a Christmas story but deeper, and I thought I'd really enjoy that instead of a fluffy Christmas read, which, don't get me wrong, those are wonderful too. I just thought this would be nice and a little bit different. Because speaking of fluffy Christmas reads, next I have A Cross Country Christmas by Courtney Walsh. This one I have had on my shelf since I think last year, maybe even the year before. I just never end up getting to it. This one is about our main character traveling home to the Midwest for Christmas, which she hasn't done in years, and her brother arranges for her to ride with his friend Will, who she is not fond of. It seems to be a bit of an enemies to lovers situation, but it's about their trip home together. So I definitely think this one will be a little bit more lighthearted and cutesy, which is also very nice. You gotta balance it all, you know what I mean? And last is one I haven't heard tons and tons about, but this one is The Holiday Mix-Up by Ginny Byard. This one is about, so I literally just read the back of this and I really didn't know anything about it, but it's actually really giving While You Were Sleeping, which is one of my favorite early holiday movies. So in this, this waitress is asked by one of her patrons who she secretly loves to fake date her for the holiday season, and she jumps at the chance to do it. But then he falls into a coma. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know if she should keep pretending to be his girlfriend because that is what she was supposed to do. And I think his brother plays a part in the situation. So Again, if you see them while you're sleeping, this seems quite similar. So I think it'll probably be enjoyable for me. The last holiday-esque read is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I have never read this book. I've seen both movies, so I'd really love to end up reading this book because I feel like obviously in the movies they can only capture so much of all of their characters, and I feel like the group of sisters is so interesting and heartwarming. So I definitely want to try to get to this one. It's one of my longer books. It is pushing 800 pages, so this one is so hopeful, but I think once I get into the world and get into these characters, it'll fly by. So that one I'm really hoping I can get to. Okay, there are more books I'd love to get to this year. Surprise, surprise. So next I want to talk about the few fantasies I have on my list. High hopes that I can get to these. First is One Dark Window. I feel like everyone and their mom is talking about this, so you've probably heard of it. And truly, if you want to know more about it, I would go listen to someone who's read it or read the synopsis. I'm going to go into it blind just because it is so well loved that I'd rather just go in knowing nothing and kind of see what it becomes for me. A lot of books I prefer to go into a little bit blind, especially fantasy. So I'm not going to tell you any details about this book, but it is the books I really want to get to. And the second one, Twisted Crowns, I think maybe 2 Twisted Crowns, or maybe it's just Twisted Crowns. Anyways, the second book in this series came out recently as well. So definitely something I need to pick up before the end of the year. Holy moly. Holy moly. I overwhelm myself every time, but I can't stop picking more books to read. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of series that are coming out, the new ones. The amount of times I've shown this book on my channel and haven't read it yet is astonishing. Yeah. It intimidates me, and it really shouldn't. You just gotta start. Like, it doesn't matter how long it's gonna take me. Honestly, this one, I do not think I will finish it in December, but I want to start it in December just so that I'm like getting started with it, because obviously the third comes out January 30th. So I need to get on it, but I don't want to cause too much stress around it because this was like one of my highest priority reads for this year and still haven't picked it up. Story of my life. Anyways, and another book that's part of a series is A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the third and final installment in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I'm excited to get to it. I know that there were really mixed feelings from readers on this one, so I'm gonna go into it really open-minded and not with too many preconceived notions about how it's gonna end, because I think that ended up disappointing a lot of people. So this is the third one in that series, and I will definitely get to this one. These books literally fly. So if you want a series that you can finish before the end of the year, Once Upon a Broken Heart, you can do it. Trust me. You can finish that. And last but not least, I have one more series to show you, but this one is a little different because it's a graphic novel series. I have had these on my shelf for quite a while, and I've been super excited to start them, but it's just like other things were taking priority. So this graphic novel series is about twin witches and kind of the mischief they get into. I've really barely started it, but the first one, I think there's only 3 out. So I have the first and second, and then I just picked up the third from my library. So this would be great to finish. It would definitely make my Goodreads goal look really good if I do finish all of those, but I also don't want to rush through them. You can tell a lot of thought went into the characters and the design, so definitely don't want to rush those, but hopefully I'll get really into them and they will fly by. So you guys, those are all the books I want to read this December. It's a hefty list. It's always a hefty list, but you know, it's nice to have so many books you want to read, and honestly, I don't think my TBRs are getting any shorter. If anything, they're just getting longer. But I did want to mention 2 books that are coming out this December as well that I'm hoping to also get my hands on. So the first one is Heartstoppers. It's volume 5. I don't know if this is the final one. I don't know if she's going to keep making them, but I really love these graphic novels. Like, this is where I found love for graphic novels. So if you haven't read this series, I strongly recommend it. The characters are so vivid, so real, and they're dealing with like really hard, realistic things. Check the trigger warnings for some of the content in these, but they're great, and I'm really excited to get my hands on number 5. And probably new release I'm most excited for like this entire year is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is the second in the Divine Rivals series, and I am gonna have to buy it that day, read it that day. I don't see it going any other direction because I am beyond obsessed and I love it. I loved the first one, so definitely gonna have to get my grubby little paws on that one. I didn't pre-order because, to be honest, like, I want the British cover. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make that happen, but believe you me, I'm gonna find a way to get my hands on that one to read. Thank you guys for watching today, and hopefully you got some inspiration for some reads for your December TBR. I know it's a little bit late, but it's never too late to add another book to the TBR, in my opinion. So have a great December, enjoy the holiday cheer, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!